Hey guys, Daniel from Daddy Gamer and Nova Props. I wanted to talk to you guys about casting today, and particularly cold casting, which is taking metal powder, mixing it with urethane resin, and then letting that set, and then later you're able to polish up and make it really look like real metal when it's actually just plastic. So we're going to make a belt buckle and a couple of our rocket buttons today. Okay, today we're going to be using aluminum powder. Now this is a 325 mesh powder. Now the thing about this stuff is it's very, very fine, and it could be a little bit dangerous. So when you're working with this type of material, you want to make sure that you use a good respirator or a good dust mask. To safety first, guys, you don't want to breathe this in, get into your lungs, it probably kill you. So safety first, be careful. Okay. I don't know if the camera can hear me. I'll talk a little louder. Okay. I have to narrate this later. We're going to use Smooth Cast 325, which is a semi-clear urethane resin, and it works really good with cold casting. It comes in two parts, A and B. I buy it in gallon containers just because I use so much of it. It's cheaper for me, but you can actually buy what's called a trial kit, and it comes in a much smaller container, about this size. First I want to take a mixing cup, a graduated mixing cup. Now for what I'm casting today, I'm thinking about 50 milliliters of material is going to be enough, 50 of each. So it'll be 50 mil of powder, 50 milliliters of part A, and 50 milliliters of part B, as well as some black pigment. Okay, now that I've got 50 mil of powder, I'm going to add 50 mil of part B. Now I use a lot more metal powder than some people. You can get away with using less, but I find that it's a little bit more expensive to use more powder, but your result comes out much more metallic looking if you just spend a little bit of extra money and go that extra mile. Next thing you want to do is add some black pigment. This is very important. If you don't, it just won't come out right at the end. If you don't add black pigment to this, your finished cold cast piece ends up coming out more gray and less metallic looking. So you see we've got the resin, part B, the black pigment, and the aluminum powder. Now we need to stir this up. It's very important to wear your respirator when you're doing this, because when you're stirring this, I mean, you can kick up these little medical particles, and you don't want to breathe these in. I don't even want to imagine what that would do inside your lungs. Just mix it up slow, scrape the sides, and scrape the bottom. Make sure you get everything out. And basically what you're looking for is a nice paste. You just want to make sure you get all the lumps out. That's about the consistency you want. About there. Come on, focus. Try this one. Alright, now that it's thoroughly mixed, you want to add part A. So you would think, you know, A comes before B, so you would start with A, right? But no, it's actually the reverse. Start with part B, then move on to part A. Part B is a
Part B is a little thinner. It's less viscous. And Part A is actually kind of, it's much more viscous, it's much more syrupy, so it's harder to mix. So always mix your pigments and your metal in with Part B, then move on to Part A. Okay, now the clock is ticking. You've mixed Part A and Part B together. You don't have much time. Stir it, but make sure you stir it thoroughly. If you don't stir the stuff up thoroughly, which means stirring it long enough, it won't cast properly. The resin won't cure. Some of it will cure and some of it will remain sticky and liquid. You don't want that. On the other hand, if you stir it too long, it'll solidify in this cup. So you really only got about 2 minutes to go. So you kind of have to act fast. That's about the consistency you want right there. Now we're going to pour it in the mold. I'm going to work this in to the mold here to make sure that, just use a gloved hand, a gloved finger, make sure that your resin gets into all the mold, all the little spaces.
Since I'm pouring open molds, you want to make sure it's as level as you can so that your pieces come out good. I ended up with a little bit of extra, so I'm just going to pour this in here to some other molds I got sitting around. Since you got it, might as well use it. Right? Makes sense. And you can see this now, but it's already starting to solidify. It's starting to move really slow. And it also gets very, very hot. The reaction of this resin curing when you add Part A and Part B together is exothermic. And yeah, it gets kind of toasty. I mean, I might burn my hand if I were to hold this for too long. But you can see it's kind of beginning to gel now. Ooh, that's actually really, really hot. I'm gonna hold it up here. Now, I've never had this actually melt one of the plastic cups. I don't think it gets that hot, but it does get uncomfortable to touch. See how slow it's starting to move now? It's because it's curing already. Ouch. That's hot. Okay, now that we've poured these molds, we need a way for it to cast. So this resin needs to cure. That could take anywhere between 15 minutes and half an hour. Generally, I would say err on the side of caution. If you think it's going to take 15 minutes to cure, leave it in there for 30 minutes. And by cure, I don't mean completely cure. I mean demold time. So the amount of time that needs to pass for the resin to be hard enough that you could actually pull it out of the mold without damaging it. Because if you try to remove it too soon, what happens is it's still a little bit too soft, a little bit too pliable, and it'll bend and actually put wrinkles on the surface. And then all the work that you did is for nothing. You have to throw the piece away and start again. So give it a little extra time, let it set up properly. Once you remove the pieces, they take about, this type of resin, about 24 hours to fully cure, fully harden. But after that, that stuff is hard as rock. So we're going to wait, we're going to come back, and we're going to check these when they're done. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do some, how to take your blank cold cast materials. And you can see they're very dark gray, like a dark gray plastic. We're going to shine these up to make them look like metal. So what you want to do is you want to get some mineral spirits. You can pick this up at any hardware store, even places like Walmart, any place that'll sell paints, paintbrushes, spray paint, things like that. It's basically a solvent, but it's a natural solvent, and it doesn't have, I don't think it has like the same kind of harmful vapors, and you can use it indoors. Just any kind of cloth or rag. This happens to be a piece of a cut up t-shirt. some sandpaper. This is just some 180 grit sandpaper. And here I have a piece of 1000 grit sandpaper. It's a lot smoother. And also some triple aught or quadruple aught steel wool. You can pick that up in places, any kind of like major big box hardware store like Home Depot or Lowe's. You usually have that in the paint section. And I recommend some gloves, some disposable gloves. Sometimes working with the steel wool, the little splinters can come off. So, you know, that can get into your skin and be really annoying and itchy. So just be aware of that. Okay, I'm being joined by my daughter Elizabeth. She's going to help me polish up these things here. Okay. So let's start with we'll start with the button. So I'm going to take your mineral spirits, and this is a new container.
I never touched that.
No, you haven't touched that before. It's kind of stinky a little bit. This says it's odorless. Nah, it smells kind of weird, huh? Ugh. Yeah. So we're gonna wet. Just dampen your disposable cloth with some mineral spirits. Gonna take the button. I'm just gonna rub it on there. Gonna rub it. Okay, you go ahead.
Hard?
No.
Soft?
Yeah. See, that's good enough. You just rub it down a little bit.
Now let me do the sides.
Okay. Okay. And when you do the same, this you want to clean up this one while I'm working on this here. Mm-hmm. Here, you can take that and just rub that mineral spirits on there. So here we go.
That's gross.
So first we're going to take our heavy grit sandpaper, and we're going to start sanding on this. See, it changes from like a dark gray to a light gray color. And you don't want to go too crazy with this. If you sand too much, you'll destroy the little grooves in there. So you know, just sand it down, but don't go nuts. You know, I wouldn't recommend doing this something like on a belt sander or something. It doesn't take a whole lot when you're using sandpaper. This is 180 grit, but you can even use something like a 320, 350.
It's not a real spirit. It's hard to do it. This thing moves around.
Yeah. So what you want to do is just sand it. See, if you notice it's kind of like a whitish color from the basically rubbing off the outer layer of resin here. You can see there's a little bit of dark. So basically you want to get rid of that. Thank you, sweetie. So I'm just gonna rub this down like so. See, I'm not doing this real hard. Like I said, doesn't take much. Now some people will say, you know, not to use sandpaper to do this, but just to polish it down from start to finish with steel wool, which takes forever. And I'm not that patient. This is a much faster way.
That's ready. Go.
Okay, thank you, baby. Let's
Look at it. Ready.
Yeah.
I'm doing the side of it.
Okay, thank you, Pumpkin. This is a much faster way to do it than just using the steel wool from the start. I mean, it'll take too long, to me anyway. So that's a pretty good buffing. Now, this part is really difficult for me, at least. I've got big, meaty fingers here. It's hard for me to get into places like that. See? Okay, you take this, take the sandpaper and try to sand in the middle, okay?
Okay.
If you can.
That's good.
Yeah, good job. Okay. Yeah, kind of. All right, hold on. Wait. Let's hold on to that first. Okay, so you take your mineral spirits cloth and you buff it out, and it's rubbing away some of the
metal powder and the powder from the resin. It is already starting to look.
There's more of them. Those are metal, but they're not done yet.
Yeah, and see, it's already starting to look more metallic, less dark gray and more metallic. So I'm gonna take their 1000 grit sandpaper.
Dad, can I do it?
Sure, just carefully, okay.
That's too hard, right?
Yeah, that's too hard. See, what you want to do when you're sanding it down is, when you first start, it feels coarse, and as you sand it, it begins to feel, it's hard to explain, less gritty and more smooth, and that's when you know that you reached the limit with this particular grit of sandpaper. So just go around the edges. I like to do it around the edges first.
I like to do it right. It's kind of hard to do it on the line of it. Right here, it's the middle.
Yeah.
Of it, I can't do it that much.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
It's kind of hard.
It is hard to do.
Because it has holes in it.
Yeah, it's supposed
well,
to.
I feel like that hand is like
shaky.
No,
tingly.
I feel like it's like a monster, like
a monster.
cutting a head.
Oh wow.
Cutting a hand.
Oh wow.
I hate it. One time I was watching this movie, it was like
like a monster hand?
No. It was this girl it was a doll that's evil, and this doll didn't like this girl, and then she turned it real.
Oh my goodness.
And then the other girl, the real girl, just turned it to the doll.
Oh, that was a Goosebumps story, I think.
It's not.
We watched that on Netflix, right?
Yeah. And then for love with her mom and dad, she turned it back to normal. Oh,
well, that was a happy ending, huh?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. It's getting glassy.
Now, look, you see, it looks a lot more like metal now, doesn't it? When we started. So our next step will be to take this and polish it up even more using steel wool. So we'll be doing that up next. That's a little bit more involved and has a lot of...
We're going to do another episode of these things.
Yeah, that's a little bit more involved and dusty, so don't want the kids to be doing that. You could breathe that in. That could be dangerous. So I'm going to stop with that one. Okay, let me see what you got here. You did a good job with the sanding.
I did good on these parts.
Yes, you did.
It's easy to do the lines.
It is easy to do the lines.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
So again, you take your heavier grit sandpaper and you just start sanding this down.
I want to do that one. I want to do the lines. It's kind of easy.
Okay.
Just gotta do that.
Okay, don't do too much though. We'll sand the thing right off, and we don't want to do that. You don't want to sand too much. You can actually sand too much, and actually.
You don't want to touch this.
No, not with your hands. Yeah, that's why you're wearing gloves. Yeah, safety first.
Safety for you. You need it. But it's not that much. I'm gonna sand it around. Can I stand right here?
If you want to. No one's gonna see the bottom, but that's where the magnets go. But...
I know. Yeah, but the magnets gonna stand.
Okay, so there it is. And I'm only gonna do half of this so you can see we can have like a sort of a comparison shot.
Oh.
Before
I wanted to do that.
Oh, hold on, give me a second, okay? Let me just, I gotta clean this part off so I can use the other sandpaper. Okay. Alright. You see it's already starting to look more metallic?
Wow. I'm not done yet. it's only safety to wear gloves with sandpaper too.
Yeah.
Because if you wear it with not gloves, that would be bad.
Okay.
And you could scrape yourself right here. But don't do it.
Okay.
I almost did it.
Okay.
Because there's some of that on this.
Right.
Because I almost did it.
Yeah.
I was like, I almost touched the sandpaper with myself.
Okay, chick. You can see you're getting some dust. It's okay. Okay, well, let me see that.
I want to see you do it.
Okay.
I never did.
Okay. Good job.
You did it right here too.
Yeah, let me see this, okay? Thanks.
See, you did it.
Yeah, it is. All right, thank you so much.
You can see it looks like metal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like metal that
So
much.
here it is after a little bit of sanding. We'll need to do more sanding on this, and then after I'm happy with it, we'll buff it with steel wool.
Tomorrow we're gonna do it.
Yeah, okay. So we'll come back to this later. Okay, now I'm gonna take some of this quadruple alt steel wool.
Hi, it's me again.
Yeah, and we're gonna go ahead and polish this up, okay? So here it is.
Daddy.
All right.
This one is kind of pretty. That one's not.
See, it's a nice aluminum color now, and you can keep buffing this out as long as you want. I mean, it'll keep getting smoother and shinier the longer you go.
Done.
Okay. There you go. You want to light that one down?
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm going to do the same on this buckle here. No. See how? Yeah. Okay. So it's starting to look up. Pretty shiny. Okay. And I mean, you can keep getting the shinier and shinier.
Is this part of your shirt?
The more you polish. But you see on this side it's just gray, like plastic, and on this side it's more metallic. So like I said, the longer you want to sand on this and polish with steel wool, and then rub down with mineral spirits, and you can keep getting it shinier and shinier the longer you go. But that's good enough, I think, for a tutorial, so you can see how this works. Next thing we'll do is we'll do a little bit of weathering on this. So I'll go prepare a little something that we can do that, and then show you how that works. Okay, to do some weathering, we're just going to use some shoe polish. So some black shoe polish, and you just want to take a little bit out this. Get a little brush, a paintbrush, preferably one that's disposable. And get you some of this. Put it up in something that you can use to mix it with, like disposable cup or something. Then you want to get some rubbing alcohol. This one is 91%, so that'll kind of help thin it down, hopefully. Mix that in together there. Just kind of thin down this mixture here, because we want it to get into the recessed areas, but not stay on the top. I'll just mix it up a little bit. Okay. Just take it and start rubbing it on. So you see it kind of gets down into the cracks and crevices. And then you just take another cloth, a clean cloth, and wipe it down. This will take a little while to dry, but once it's dry, it should stay. But see how that makes it look much more defined now. You can really, it really makes the little recessed areas pop out of there. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm only going to do this one because I didn't finish this left-hand side here, but I'm just going to do the same thing. You just rub it all over there. Get it down inside the little nooks and crannies. This is very easy to do. Now, when I'm weathering, this is a cold cast buckle, but we also do pewter buckles that are made out of, well, mostly tin. Now, I weather those differently. I don't use shoe polish on those. I actually use a matte black, flat black water-based paint, model paint, basically, and I weather those by hand with paint. You can see those little recessed areas that used to be kind of gray in color are now black, and that really makes a big difference. Really helps to bring out that depth, you know. So again, just let that dry. Don't have to do much with it after the fact except for leave it alone. It'll dry up. Let it sit for a few hours, and then you can give this a clear coat spray, and that'll really make this stuff pop out a lot more. Sometimes I'll take a little bit of sandpaper and sand down the tops just to make them a little bit more shiny, a little bit more pronounced. See, like that. So I mean, yeah, if you just do like that, if you're happy with the first pass, fine. If not, you can go back in and add a little more. As long as you wipe it away before it dries, you're going to be good to go. You don't have to worry about it too much. So there you go. That's how you mold and cast, cold cast things in resin and then polish them up. I hope this little video is some benefit to you, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a good thumbs up, and always, you know, subscribe to the channel. That'll help us out a lot. Don't forget to, you know, leave comments, questions, and I'll do my best to help you out if you do have any questions. All right, have a good one.